Hi, everyone. Hope you're well. This morning, we have another Trump tweet storm, and I have, of course, some comments and interpretation of it. But first, let's see what Trump said this morning. Here's Trump. As your president, one would think that I would be thrilled with our very strong dollar. I am not. The Fed's high interest rate level, in comparison to other countries, is keeping the dollar high, making it more difficult for our great manufacturers like Caterpillar, Boeing, John Deere, our car companies, and others to compete on a level playing field. With substantial Fed cuts, there is no inflation and no quantitative tightening. The dollar will make it possible for our companies to win against any competition. We have the greatest companies in the world. There is nobody even close. But unfortunately, the same cannot be said about our Federal Reserve. They have called it wrong at every step of the way, and we are still winning. Can you imagine what would happen if they actually called it right? Okay, so like a lot of things, or a lot of things Trump says, it's probably intellectually suspect, but politically astute. So I think he's getting two benefits from playing this card against the Fed right now. Trump, like most people in this country right now, understand that he's going to win re-election in 2020 as long as the economy is still humming. So his main risk is not the Democratic field, which of course, again, as everyone knows, is a complete joke, except for Tulsi Gabbard, who of course is being blackballed. So Trump is running against the economy. If the economy is good, he wins. If it's bad, he doesn't. He's setting it up so that if the economy does falter prior to November 2020, he already has a ready-made scapegoat in the Fed. And that may indeed pay off. Furthermore, even if the economy doesn't falter, right? One of the arguments he's making in these tweets is, even though we're doing really well, we'd be doing much better if the Fed, right, wasn't so incompetent, in his word from yesterday. So even if the economy is still doing well, he can always argue in the debates and his campaign in 2020 that he's doing well despite the Fed holding him back. So that's more or less my interpretation of this tweet, that he's essentially playing a card. He might we don't know whether or not he can distinguish between real and nominal variables, right? We don't really know if he understands that these trade gains or these trade losses that we sorry, I'm right on the cart path here. These losses that we suffer in the short run, that Trump's so worried about when China devalues, they're ephemeral, they're very temporary, and of course have much larger long-term costs than short-term benefits, which he seems to recognize sometimes in tweets and sometimes doesn't. Anyway, if you interpret Trump on an intellectual level, right? This tweet is a perfect example. It can drive you crazy, right? This is the cause of Trump derangement syndrome, taking him seriously, right? A much better way to interpret Trump is to think about why he's saying what he's saying to you. And, I interpret Trump as almost always trying to get you into a place or get you to understand a problem in a certain way so that he's going to get what he wants, right? So it's not, he doesn't necessarily say what he thinks. He says what he thinks will get a win for him, right? Which is fair enough. So I think that's what he's doing here. Who knows what he really thinks about the Fed, or what he really thinks about the economy, or what he's really worried about. I suspect the impetus for these tweets is the 2020 election and his anxiety about the economy not performing through that election. However, I think it's much more psychologically easy, and also I think just correct to try to interpret Trump in terms of thinking about what he wants and how what he's saying is serving those desires, rather than taking him at face value. I think it's very difficult to take these tweets at face value, because again, like the past couple days, the level of ignorance and stupidity necessary to actually think what he says is probably not there. His resume alone, like it or not, demonstrates that he can't be as stupid as he seems. So anyway, not a lot of economic content there, but certainly I think that, if I were Trump, would I send this tweet? Maybe, right? If I wanted to win 2020 election, if I'm interested in the truth and peace and prosperity, probably not. So anyway, let me know what you think of that. If you have any other interpretations, or if you want me to talk about anything else. Still waiting on my first question or comment. So I look forward to that. I'll talk to you tomorrow.